contribute or to help him is to work for Guts. And it was interesting to see that I came to give her a lot of documents, and I had to leave quite quickly to go back to another place. But then she insisted that I sat down next to her, and then she started to talk and share all her experiences. So I think in a very small period of time, I've succeeded in gaining trust in Florette. I don't know if it's because we had the training and that they liked the project and they really wanted to work, or if they just like me and Ardeshini as persons. I don't really know, but I was really surprised by the trust and the rapidity to which they decided to just talk to us. So the other field note I forgot to make when I went for the first time to Roselda. So Roselda lives in Plaisance, and she's giving us her house for us to make the interviews, her garage, to make the interviews with the young people. Adeshini is interviewing because Michael and Jean-Paul just have missed the training, and we decided to stop with them, so they're only recruiting for us. And basically one time I arrived a bit earlier than Adeshini, and I discussed with Roselda to kill time, I guess, and without realizing it, I had very interesting field notes. So she told me that she used to help a lot of injecting drug users before she even worked for CUT. So I think she's been there for a few years, I would say 5 or 6, a bit less than Florette. Aldeshini and I think that probably her son is injecting, but she's never talked about it ever. It's just that it's a supposition because we saw him once, and he didn't seem in a good shape, in good health, and she also avoids to talk about her son. And one time one of the interviewee who came said that she knew her son really well. So we were thinking it might be the link there. So just like Florette, someone who she knows is injecting, and she's trying to help around her to feel better about it because she doesn't know how to help. So basically she told me that she used to, each time she knew someone who wanted to either stop drugs or get a treatment, she would accompany them because they were so young that they couldn't go by themselves. So she did that with CDS, which is a rehabilitation center in Caterborn. And she said it was very difficult for these people to go by themselves, so she kind of pretended she was a close relative, and she went with them. She was also she didn't want to say that, but she was a very useful psychological support, I think, because it is hard to come out and be able to ask for treatment and help because of the stigma is so big in Mauritius and so heavy. So I guess she was basically doing harm reduction by herself before even going into CUT, and it is very interesting that her house is just in the middle of the place where people get drugs, and I think it helps for her because she's just in the middle of that. She just can't help but help all those young people who are around her house. It was really interesting to see the space and notions of space or intimity, because Roselda's house is pretty much a windmill, as we would say. The expression, basically anyone during the day can just knock and enter. She has lots of dogs, but they're really friendly. And just her house is just open to anyone. Each time we came around at Adeshina, we were just saying, it's fine, we can just stay in the garage, or but she always wants us to come in, and her house is just an open space for everyone. It doesn't feel like it's her home. Almost like she had to sacrifice it, but willingly. It is really interesting because I was told by the person at the Ministry of Youth and Sports yesterday that there were so many centers and so many places where they actually could go to, and where programs could happen, but it seems that because it's so taboo still, that houses like Rosalda's are their way of finding comfortable places where they feel secure and safe, and they can ask for clean syringes without feeling bad or feeling pressured or shamed. So that's really interesting. Also, the other thing that Rosalda told me about was so basically I told her that I was talking to policy stakeholders, and we were trying to get to understand the system and understand how young people still not have access to drug treatment and care like they want to. And then she started talking about the government and how they were not helping, and she mentioned that rumor again that I've been hearing a lot. Actually, it was just not a rumor anymore, I think. So deputies have been caught at the airports with a lot of drugs, heroin and cocaine in the 80s, and she said it hasn't changed since. So I asked, because I was really naive, and I was also playing naive, how come these people were carrying drugs? And she said, I think it still happens today. Basically, when you go through VIP at the airport, you don't have any sort of a security check whatsoever, and so you can bring whatever you want in your bags. You're never going to get checked, and only government people benefit from this. So she thinks that one of the routes of drugs in Mauritius. I could feel a sort of anger in Rosalda's voice when she was telling me all of this, and I think that's how we also found out or figured out that she probably have her son injecting drugs. Otherwise, she wouldn't have that anger. She told me a lot about those rumors again of policemen who are called up for something. I mean, for either a drug dealer that someone's noticed or a hotspot. And she says usually police comes in up to 4 to 5 hours after people have called, and so of course people had enough time to leave the place and without leaving any trace. And it was interesting to see that she wouldn't put the words on it. She wouldn't say herself because the police has links with drug dealers, and also they probably receive money from drug dealers not to find them. I had to say that. I had to probe that in a very clear manner for her to nod. So it was interesting, as if she doesn't want to criticize the police. But later on, I talked with Adeshini, and we believe that her husband is in the police, because one of the interviewees said something to Rosalda about how lucky she was that her husband let her go and didn't send her to youth prison, because what she did wasn't so bad, and that she was lucky to have crossed his way and not someone else. But Rosalda is still very secretive about this, so either we might interview her, or we might even ask her straight away, but an interview setting might be a bit better for this kind of information. But she seems key, because she knows so many young people. Also, actually, Adashini's come to know that she's probably recruiting, and instead of Michael and Jean-Paul in Plaisance, because a lot of them are just kind of quoting Rosalda and not even Michael or Jean-Paul. So anyway, she's doing all the work. Because of her role, she knows so many people, and if she does know so many people and her husband isn't in the police, or her ex-husband, as we might have understood, which might be the reason why they're not together, actually, thinking about it. Yeah, we need to explore that a bit more and try to get more information on her life, because I think she's a gem for us. She's a huge source of information, but she's very secretive, and she doesn't really talk about anything. We really need to probe and have a moment where we're just the two of us, and then we have nothing else to do than talk. So I'm just wondering if the interview might be a good solution. Maybe Adeshini is going to have to do it, because I have only 3 days left here. So that's it for my field notes. Tomorrow I am meeting in Port Louis with Dr. Apadou and Sajida. I'm not too sure